Andrew Lord said it's been the toughest week in the history of the Ospreys. How's it been for the coach?
We've been good. We're focused on what we're about, developing players, progressing as a team, and getting points to stay in the fight in the ladder, and ultimately getting wins. So that's what our focus is. You know, I made my comments on Friday night. That's been dealt with now. Focus purely now is leading into Connacht on Saturday.
What are the emotions now for you and for the players?
Look, for me, it's clarity of what this week's about. You know, we've said before, and it's the same for everybody, no matter where you're playing. As a rugby player, you can only be judged on your performance on the training field, in the gym, and ultimately on the pitch in the contest. And other than that, bureaucracy will look after itself.
It must be difficult though, because it's hard enough to produce a winning team, you know, in the ideal circumstances, but with everything that's going on for you, there must be trying times.
Yeah, for everybody, and you know, but as I say, the boys have been absolutely fantastic, and you know, I don't want to detract from the importance of this weekend's game. We're in a situation where to stay at the top end of the ladder, to stay in contention for the knockouts at the end of the season, we need a big performance on Saturday.
Yeah, how do you see the picture after the Munster loss? How do you see the playoff picture now?
I still think there'll be twists and turns. We look at our run in with optimism. This is a big game, obviously, in terms of, you know, a close rival, team that are slightly ahead of us. So no doubt they'll be targeting it as well. We all know what's on the line, and in the context of our conference, it's obviously a huge fixture for us and them. But you know, we started the week really well. We've got a couple of extra days gone into it, and you know, I have to say on Friday night I thought the boys were excellent in terms of not just our effort and our physicality, but also in terms of what we created on the field. For us, there are critical moments, key moments, where we just need to do the basics well, and that's something we're really focused on.
Do you think about your own future? Because just like everybody, I guess, who is on the payroll almost, does that come into your head at a time like this?
I think about everybody's future every day. As a coach, you never get too far beyond yourself, because you know you're in a results business. So whether you're on a 3-year contract or a 1-year contract, it's really about the here and now, and I say that with sincerity, because I've seen too many people get beyond themselves. 5-6 year plans. It's not the reality of the world we live in. It's an ever-changing world, as we're seeing, and as such, you know, you work in blocks within the season. You work in seasons, and you work in 2-3 year seasons. So you pitch yourself accordingly. We're currently at the end of this block, and as I say, it's really important for us to pick up a win on Saturday.
You must be desperate though, aren't you, to be able to start properly putting foundations in place for next season?
Oh, we're well down the road in that regard, I can assure you.
You know, excited with the squad you can have out next season?
Yeah, and you know, I'm also excited by a lot of the young boys coming through. We've got obviously world-class players, international quality players. You know who they are. I think there's going to be a need for us as a club to be extremely robust in everything that we do, from age grade up through, that we're developing the next trench of Welsh international rugby players. You know, many seasons ago now, the Ospreys had Justin Marshalls, it's Tommy Bowes in fact, playing for them. We don't necessarily have those players at the moment, but we do have a wonderful representation in the Welsh squad. We've got a healthy representation in the under-20s, and we've got a young crop of players coming through, and it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we're giving them every opportunity to come through and realise their full potential, and in realising their full potential, hopefully some of them, but it won't be all of them, some of them will go on and play for Wales one day.
And in terms of the game this weekend, what sort of challenge are you expecting from Connacht?
I think you look at Connacht as a team, I think they're a side who, they get the best out of themselves, they play hard for each other, particularly at home. They're robust up front, physical, they'll challenge you at set piece time, and they like to play an expansive brand of rugby, but they can also mix it up as well, so depending on the conditions, because Galway tends to lend itself to alternative conditions to what we're experiencing today. That's going to define the type of game that it is. For me, Connacht can play tight, they can play expansive, they've got a kicking game, so there's good balance to what they challenge you with.
Is it a must-win game, considering they're also going for the playoffs?
At this moment in time, it feels like a must-win game.
And have you got players like coming up here and seeing what's going on and all stuff like that?
That's standard, you know.
Is it any walk of life?
It is, but obviously it's more extreme this season.
Yeah. So we dealt like that, like an arm on the shoulders, or?
I've been honest, and I think that's the only way to be. That's dealing with. I think you deal with it as you would want your own son spoken to. You deliver with honesty, but you also have sympathy, and you also explain what's important now. And ultimately, if a player loses patience, he has the right to move on. That's the risk that you take, but we haven't been confronted with that situation, I'm glad to say.
I mean, that's remarkable, really.
Yeah, and I think it's testament to the group of players that we have, and it's testament to everybody involved with the Ospreys in terms of the environment that we're creating, we're growing and maintaining to a degree.